Tape is one of the effects that I love the most. Not only for the dynamic control that you can get through tape, but the harmonics. Everything that you run through tape, it's supposed to sound better, but sometimes I feel like in the plugin world, it doesn't. Today, we're gonna check out a tape
with no compromises.
MIXLAND's 3348 tape. I'm Jorge Lanzasing now. We break it down, baby. Alright, my friend, thank you so much for being here once again. And like I was saying, tape is one of my favorite effects. And I know that I'm not remotely alone in that camp. Tape is just great. Not only it compresses in a really nice way, it just like chop those little transients that makes things sound a little bit too pokey maybe and makes everything just sound super more pleasant. I feel like Eric Valentine explained with words how tape really sounds, or how I hear it in my head. And I'm sure if you have experience with tape, probably you hear the same thing. As soon as a transient hit that tape, it feels like all the high end and all the harsh frequencies just like spread so nicely and evenly in the rest of the spectrum, which makes it so pleasant. So with one type of processor, you're basically tackling a bunch of different problems and turning them into your advantage. So having said all that, let's stop the talking, get to the rocking, and check some plugins. So here we are in Pro Tools, and this is the session that I'm mixing right now called Living It Up. So far, maybe like the levels are okay, but of course you need to massage dynamics and bring out some EQs and do a lot of more work ahead. So I feel like this is the perfect track to check different aspects of the plugin. Okay, so here's the plugin, and I feel like the interface looks pretty nice. The first thing that I'm looking at is right here, user interface size, and we're gonna make it bigger because you know I like it bigger. Okay, there you go. Served it for you. You can say it right away. All right, so 150 looks pretty good for me. The first thing that I'm gonna say, it looks so high def, I almost feel like I can grab the tape. Okay, so let's start right here at the top left corner. What is this? Okay, this is where your license and all these things stand. Then of course you have your presets. Okay, then we have oversampling right here all the way to 16 times. Let's see what it does to the CPU. Barely kissed it. Right, so let's turn it back to 0 just for fun, and then we're probably gonna check it out. We have a mix knob, which is pretty clever to have. Of course, then it says that I have my 14 days remaining for my trial. And wait, that's something cool because I want to say that the website said that it was 7 days, but it gave me 14. So let's check it out. Okay, so then we have maybe undo, redo, A and B, so we can compare them. And okay, then here at the bottom, we have some sort of like EQ, and we have some preset frequencies, 30, 80, 200, 950, very wow. Specific frequency right there, 4500. That is perfect to have. I always say that every time I see 4400, 4500, probably my favorite frequency to take off, but also a great frequency to boost when you don't have it, right? So that is pretty nice. And then a 22K. Okay, great. Then we have, what is this? I think maybe these are like our goals that we want to stay between those lines in our input and output. Can we control the level in here? Oh no, this is just the meter. Nice, it's like we can check the meters, or at least this one, or is that like a glitch? I don't know. But then we have input and output, and I like that you can link them so that if you push in one direction, then you can take the output down, making sure that you're not really fooling yourself by just giving it a little bit more volume, right? So okay, pretty nice, very simple interface. Let's start listening to some sounds. Do you like to use tape in your sessions? Let me know which is the plugin that you like to use the most right here in the comment section down below. And while you're there, remember to like, subscribe, and do all those cool little things that we like to do on YouTube, and enjoy this little bossa nova, my friend. I hope your day keeps getting better and better and better. Alright, let's go. Zoom. Okay, first and foremost, I'm gonna have it in my instrument bus. If you're familiar with mixing, you know what I'm doing. I'm like separating different kind of families of instruments in a bus, and then I'm putting them in like a super neat folder that I can definitely collapse all the way down here if I want to. But what really matters is that I'm just gonna put it right here in my instrument bus, right before my limiter. And I think in this limiter, I might not be doing anything maybe other just than boosting the signal a little bit. So let's go back to our mixtape plugin and let's hear what it's doing to the signal. This, my friend, would be the perfect moment for you to go get a great set of headphones, AirPods, whatever you're feeling comfortable listening to music, so that we can have a meaningful conversation in the comment section down below. All right, let's go do it. Okay, let's hear first without the plugin. Wow, that's a really big difference by not doing anything. But of course, you know, that's not really true because if you have tape, you have transformers, tape formula, biases, EQ configurations, and all that kind of stuff. It's already doing a big effect. Right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put this limiter right here, and I'm going to use it as a meter so that we can see where our levels are going when we are moving these parameters in the tape. I'm just going to keep it like right here, and we can see where our signal is. Let's try checking it right now so that we know what I'm talking about. I love that I did that right now because you can see actually with your eyes what you're hearing. All of a sudden, the dynamic range is being a little bit suppressed. The transients are not having a big influence on the peak metering, except when it actually hits like with the bass or like with another instrument at the same time. And it's got this little sense of like tightness. But still, I feel like that little smeariness that we get from tape, but you know, it's always like a trade-off. You get something you really wanted and something you really like, and then you lose something. So let's try different settings and see what happens when we're checking this thing out. And I want you to keep a close, open eye to that meter to make sure that we're kind of like in the same spot, or if maybe something sounds better and it's louder in the meter, then maybe we're just being fooled by level. So let's check it out. Okay, let's start with this 3348, and I'm just going to be cycling through them. Let me find a part of the song that's exactly the same so that we don't get confused. Okay, I'm going to have to stop right there on that X80. I want to say that it does something really nice to the cymbals because all the harshness that I was hearing with that like cymbal that I'm bashing, pss, 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 the second you put the tape, it's like it's got this little nice mild de-essing. Yeah, I feel like we lose a little bit of excitement, but maybe that's where you have that 4.5K right there, so you can boost it a little bit to getting back. But overall, this X80 is doing a lot of what I would like a tape to do. So let's keep listening. Like the bass on this one, it's like super, super strong. I'm like shooting out those three because those are like the first ones that actually caught my attention, and they're like so different between each other. But for example, this is, in my opinion, for this kind of program material, when I'm fitting the whole mix into it. What do I mean by the whole mix? Drums, bass, guitars, synths, everything is just going to this tape, right? In this scenario, I feel like this X80, it's super, super, super pleasing to hear. And it's like super balanced as well because I'm getting this like robust bump in the bottom end. Maybe not bump, but it just gets like a little bit tighter. And it does that little de-essing on the cymbals. So overall, I feel like that's very exciting to me. And then when I was checking this one, the DA88, the bottom end is so big. So let's say if there's like an instrument that is sounding a little bit wimpy, maybe this would be good. And hopefully I can remember to try it out on something else. But it's actually very lo-fi as well. It's not like a super hi-fi sound. Maybe for drums it could be good. I don't know. And then this 601 felt like the X80, but a little bit more exaggerated and without the de-essing and the cymbals. like those two could not be any more different, to be honest. But I want to say that maybe that's the 601 gets a little bit of a boost in the volume. So maybe it's not really a fair comparison. Okay, so now that I know I like this X80, I want to push it a little bit more to see what it does when you start pushing some harmonics into it. Let's do it. Now let's do a little bit of an A-B comparison. So trying to match a little bit better, I definitely can hear the thickness of this thing. I want to say that my favorite thing is what it does to the cymbals, because all of a sudden they just sound pretty. But everything that it's doing in the mid-range and the punch is just a freaking great sounding plugin. I don't know what to say. And in the setting that I just cooked up right now, you can see that I'm gaining like 3 dBs. Maybe then I can push the mix a little bit louder because it's pushing all my crests down, or my crest factor, if you want to call it that, while pushing the energy of the mix up. So I think it's doing exactly what I want. Let's see what happens if we start checking those 3 ADDAs that we have and see what the differences are now that we're actually pushing some serious level into it. Yeah, you can see it right here. I love that this EQ is showing you exactly what's happening frequency-wise. You can hear this saturation that happened in the mid-range as soon as you hit this DA88. Like I say, very, very vintage sounding, but a great sound for something else might be perfect. Okay, now that we have this, let's check these other settings right here. The emphasis. Let's see what happens if we have it on and off. There's that 4.5, 4.7, whatever it is. It's usually where the cymbals are, you know, and this particular ADDA is doing so good with the cymbals that as soon as you pushed it a little bit, it just sounds great. I want to say that this sounds like that old Dolby trick that you get a little bit the brightness that you lose from tape, you gain it back. Anyway, I think all this sounds really good. Let's turn the bias up. Ooh, it sounds so good under bias. Let's hear it again. The guitar sounds so good as soon as I turn this down. Let's turn it up again. Pretty interesting. I'm really excited about this plugin because I really love tape, you know, and if you see right here, even I have tape already going. So right now we're hearing tape over tape over tape, right? So now let's see what happens if we push this limiter on. Okay, this is the first thing that I'm going to mention. I was noticing right now as I was checking this plugin that there's some tapiness that I was losing. And I don't mean tapiness like in the sense of real tape, because as you can imagine, I'm not like a daily tape user. I feel like none of us are anymore. But I do use a bunch of tape plugins. And this one was sounding a tiny little bit more open. I was about to say something. And then it's because right here, they give you the flexibility and the freedom to actually choose if you want to have that clampy sound or not. I want you to pay attention to the mid-range, especially like where the snare lives and like the knocky part of the kick, the definition on the bass and all that kind of stuff, especially right here in the middle section in the stereo field. Pay attention to that, how forward it gets when I turn the limiter on. But of course, we lose something. So pay attention to that right now. Maybe really nice for drums, but as soon as I turn it on, I feel like it just clamps the bass a little bit too much and it sounds a little bit maybe oversaturated. But the second I turn it off, the bass just breathes really nice. So what would I do, let's say in a mix, just like practically, just trying to move forward and quickly. I already know that I like this in my mix, but I'm having all these connections in my head. Like for example, what I'm saying about the bass or the drums. What would I do? I would probably just drag it and drop it in the different channels and do the changes that I mentioned. And probably in the drums, I would keep the limiter on, and in the bass, I wouldn't. In the guitars, I would keep the bias under biased. Maybe in the bass, I wouldn't keep it under biased. But you know what I'm saying? Having all these combinations and permutations of options that we have allow you to use it in different channels in a clever way so that you actually are creating more separation just by using the plugin in the way that it sounds. Not just about what you're trying to make with it or of it, but what it is naturally. Okay, so last thing that I want to check, I've been like super into oversampling lately, and I've been noticing that some plugins that I use when I turn the oversampling all the way up, it makes a humongous difference, like huge difference. Some other plugins, not so much. Let's see what category is this on. This starts straight up on 16x's, and then I'm going to turn it down to 0, back to 16, so we can hear that difference, that shock, right? So let's try it out. It absolutely makes sense what's happening. As soon as I turn the oversampling on, the top end just gets like super clear, super defined. I hear the cymbals really nicely separating from the guitars. And that's exactly what you're looking for in that kind of scenario. But again, in the same way as you would imagine, when you go lo-fi with it, you get a little bit extra punch. Maybe the top end is a little bit more smeary, but you get a little bit more punch. And that's exactly what we're trying to see when you're using oversampling. So without anything else to say, my friend, let's go grab a few conclusions. So there you have it, my friend, the 3348 tape plugin by MIXLAND. Wow. I mean, if you really like tape and tape plugins, and you are already used to this kind of scenario where you have like the excitement of the high end, and you have a little bit of compression, a little bit of limiting happening, this plugin is really nice. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. My personal tape plugin to put like on a 2-bus or anything that it's a little bit crowded and you have a bunch of instruments going into the same bus, I usually like to use the AKG ATR102. And I feel like it does so many wonderful things for your sound. I feel like it does have a very specific sound though, that you either like it or you don't. But more importantly, I want to say that every time I run a whole mix through it, I end up losing something in the top end that for some reason I end up keeping the plugin because I want the punch that I'm getting and I want some of like the separation that I'm getting in the stereo field and those kind of things I really like. But I've always had the gripe that it makes my sound a little bit too lo-fi. And yeah, you might say, dude, why are you looking for tape? You don't want to sound lo-fi. Tape is lo-fi. What are you talking about? And I know that's a way to say it, man, but you know, we're splitting hairs here and we want something but not too much of it. You don't want a whole tablespoon of salt. Maybe you just wanted a little bit of salt. You know what I'm trying to say? So these kind of things really matter when you do this every day of your life. So I've noticed that ATR102 gives me something that I want but takes something away that I really wanted. And just by having the oversampling in this plugin, it's exactly what I wanted. The opportunity that you have to control the limiting settings and the oversampling in this plugin just makes it invaluable because you can choose whenever you want to use the lo-fi type of sound. And when I say lo-fi, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not talking about lo-fi mashed up, like mangled, like a cassette tape. I mean lo-fi in master bus tape compression, you know what I'm trying to say? But the second you turn the oversampling, it just sounds like a mastered record, which is exactly what I've been looking for in my instruments master because I want to have as much definition as I can while retaining that little bit of punch. So overall, MIXLAND. I never really knew about their plugins, and I saw that they have a few other ones that I will definitely check. But overall, really excited about this plugin, and not only that, it's actually pretty cheap. Go check out their website right now. I'm gonna leave the link down below because this is probably one of the more affordable companies that I've seen.
And you definitely want to go check it out.
But that's enough about me, my friend. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And while you're there, remember to like, subscribe. If you can support me financially, smash that super thanks button. I thank you so much. And if you have more time to spend with me, go watch this video right here and I'll be waiting for you. Thank you so much for being here again today, my friend.